and we will start with a keynote speech by Christian Greco from the Museo Egizio in Turin in Italy. We are very happy that he will tell us about all the news and all the old news from his museum, one of the most fantastic Egyptian collections. Christian Greco has been director of Museo Egizio for the last 10 years, and it has been an ongoing process of making this museum one of the very good museums with research and many new things happening. Even new things happening we will also hear about at this conference. So Christian Greco started his career in Leiden at
Carlo Felice, King of Sardinia, after a first attempt to buy the collection by Vittorio Emanuele I, but then the king had to resign in 1821, and his brother took the throne and arrived to sign an agreement with Bernardino Drovetti, Consul General of France, native of Barbania, who had collected this immense collection, which was since 1819 in Livorno. So the collection was bought by the Kingdom of Sardinia, not by Italy, of course, because Italy was not unified at that time. The very small Kingdom of Sardinia paid 400,000 lira, Piemontese lira, to buy the collection, which means nowadays 60 million euros, but which means 3/4 of the financial capacity of the museum, of the kingdom itself. So it was a huge investment for a very small country. And actually the collection arrived and it was housed in this corridor, while part of the building was being restored and refunctionalized so that these objects could be housed in the collection itself. We wanted, while we were working, I mean, it was a necessity. We are working behind that gallery where it's written museum. We are completely refurbishing it from a static engineering point of view. So, of course, statue had to be carried out. And we have been wondering where to house the statue, whether we wanted to have an external depot to house them. But then we have realized that the nicest thing we could do during this year of the bicentennial was to bring the statue there where they were at the very beginning. It was in this gallery that Jean-François Champollion opened the crates. It was in this gallery that Jean-François Champollion, looking at Ramses II, said that art in ancient Egypt existed, contradicting what Winkelmann said in 1764. It was in this gallery that Jean-François Champollion defied Ramses II, the Apollo Belvedere of ancient Egypt, because the statues were housed here for almost 2 years, till 1826. Well, the gallery where it's written museum, and that I will show you in a little while, was opened finally. It's also very nice because Champollion, later in that year of 1824, wrote a pamphlet to the king. In this pamphlet, he takes the word for Seti II, our wonderful Seti II, which is 5 meters 16 high, which is a very nice twin of the wonderful Seti II, which is at the Louvre. Champollion personified, let's say, in Seti II, complaints to the king in saying, first of all, I had to go for a very important, troublesome journey from Egypt to Italy. And I was traveling not alone and not in a boat which was suited to my royal status. I was accompanied by many other people, not of my royal status, and I was accompanied by many other kings. Little by little, when I arrived in Turin, I was expected to go to court and to be welcomed by the king. But actually, the reality that I'm here outside in a building where there is not even space for me. So please, dear king, find a suitable place for me. So actually, it's a very funny pamphlet, but it's also very telling of what was happening. Of course, the museum was under construction. A statue of 5 meters 60 could not be inside. And 200 years later, the history reversed itself because all the other statues are outside. The only one which is inside is, of course, Seti II. It could not be taken out of the gallery where it is now because of its weight. So you see one of the first features, which will be central in the new gallery that we will open. Light. The new project has been called From Darkness to Light. And the position of the statue themselves. You probably remember that the pedestal where the statues were staying on was 1.5 meters, so the statues were quite very high. They wanted to give that idea of being colossal and dominating the visitors, but now we want to reconstruct a more direct relation between the visitors and the statues themselves. Of course, it has been a huge endeavor to bring all of them out, and now it is the moment to bring them back in a few days. It was also the chance to get a good overview of all the statues, to study all of them, to see all the problems they have, structural problems, and to proceed to restoration and intensive cleaning, especially of our statue of Horemheb and Amon. On the 1st of May of this year, we wanted to complete our gallery of devote called In Search of Life, where we present 6 mummies and we present a visual unwrapping of the mummies, opening a funerary garden. Well, of course, our goal was to work, and we worked together with Professor Dr. José María Galán and his wonderful discovery in 2017 in Drabo al Naga, in front of tombs dating to 1960 BCE, the presence of a funerary garden. The analysis that he had done, the results that have come out, that show what kind of plants were there and how they were used in a ritual concerning the mortuary ritual and connected with the cause of the disease. And so we wanted to have this is in our roof garden, and we have this garden that actually are an attestation of completely the gallery that we have below. So In Search of Life, where we have the ritual unwrapper on the mummies one in our roof garden, we have a video of 30 minutes explaining the funerary cult, and then people can go outside in the roof garden and see what kind of plants were used to be put in front of the tombs. Of course, this is an outside space, which means that the flowers and the plants will flourish and blossom in the spring and in the summer, and then of course they will die in the autumn and winter to come back again the next spring. And actually, we have developed some educational program for children to be confronted with these cycle or elements of nature, the life and death, how the observation of the natural cycle was fundamental in forging the ancient Egyptian theology, and we think it could be very useful for children nowadays to be confronted with such themes. And here you see some of the specific plants which are there. I can tell you that now, approaching autumn, the situation, of course, is changing already. And but well, that's part of the program that we wanted. We had to close the museum for 3 weeks, and was from the beginning of June till the 12th of July. It was due to the fact that we were having stuff inside the museum, and it was dangerous both for our employees and for our visitors, so we were forced to close the museum. A museum nearby, the Galleria d'Italia, which are in Piazza San Carlo, so just a few meters beside our museum, decided to host our visitors with a small exhibition focusing on production of landscape, virtual landscape, actually from the smaller observation of nature, bringing together what has been filmed in Egypt, what is represented in La Description de l'Égypte, or how nature developed, going from a Nilotic overview where there is not the anthropological elements still, so how the landscape, how the environment was transformed in landscape, and how the landscape, where the anthropological element has been operated for millennia, forged and shaped what we also know as material culture of ancient Egypt. You probably remember that we had a gallery, that's how it looked like, devoted to Nefertari. This year we do not only celebrate 200 years of the foundation of the museum, but also 120 years of the discovery of the tomb of Nefertari in the Valley of the Queens, discovered by Ernesto Schiaparelli during the Museo Arqueológico Italiana in Egypt. This was how it looked like when it was opened in 2015. You see that we used showcases which were developed by Schiaparelli in order to house the collection here. Well, actually, I had to correct what I just said, because we found in our archive something quite interesting. It's a little information, but it's quite interesting, especially for those of us who are dealing with archive. It has always been thought that these kind of showcases were brought by Schiaparelli and actually that he copied in the Museo Egizio what he had done in Florence. But actually we found a letter where there is attestation that it was a reverse process. It was Ariodante Fabretti, the previous director who developed this kind of showcases, was Ernesto Schiaparelli, who was director since 1918 in Florence, who saw the first showcases and copied them in Florence. And when he arrived in Turin, it incremented this number of showcases. And it's also very interesting because now we found two different kinds of showcases. Actually, those of Ariodante Fabretti were much refiner and nicer. And then Schiaparelli had to produce a lot of them because of the excavations going on, and decided to have this kind of showcase. But you see anyway how it looked like. You see that at the center there is an object that might seem mysterious. And on the 9th of August, we reopened this gallery. We reopened because the burial goods of the tomb of Nefertari had been traveling for almost 8 years. They were part of a traveling exhibition that opened in the Hermitage, which was called Queens of Egypt, that went to the Rijksmuseum for Oudheden in Leiden. From there, we went to Washington, Kansas City, Canada, and so actually for 8 years the objects were not visible. Finally, this exhibition has ended, and we realized that this is a central core of our collection, and it was important to have a refurbishing of the gallery for to celebrate the bicentennial and the 200 years, 120 years from the discovery. These are renders of how the showcases look like now. We have the photos taken by Schiaparelli at the very moment of the discovery. On the second photo on your left, you see a smaller man with a hat. That is Schiaparelli. Next to him, there is Howard Carter, and they are observing a very strange object in front of them, which is electrical generator. The industry in Turin at that time, the automotive industry that was developing, had given to Schiaparelli this generator that allowed him to work in the underground chamber with electricity. And Howard Carter, who was inspector of antiquities at that moment, was very curious to see how this would work and facilitate the work. These are some drawings of how the galleries have been implemented. I all invite you to come and visit, and to see also how in the gallery we have used drawings and notes made during the excavation, and we put at the center, just go back a second, this object is a model made of scale 1 to 10 of the tomb of Schiaparelli, of the tomb of Nefertari. It is at the center of the room. Schiaparelli wanted to have a model, we can even say a 3D model, to allow people in the museum to see one of the most important discoveries he had done in Egypt. And on the back now, we have a video which allows you to go through the model and to see and to learn about the cosmographical text of the tombs. On the 9th of August of this year, we also hosted a lecture of Professor Dr. Tarek Tawfiq, who came to explain the tomb of Nefertari and to see also where Egyptian archaeology is going nowadays. On the 4th of October, and this is the main reason why I cannot be with you today, we are opening another gallery, 2 floors, and it's called Materia Forma del Tempo, materiality, the shape of time, where we want to put at the center the materiality of our collection, the complexity of our collection. There is a lot of discussion within archaeological museum nowadays, how much you can share with your public, how much you can make visible, how do you have to deal with reserve and the research that you do in the reserve, and how we can find a way to put the reserve central in our exhibition. That's where we are gonna open a gallery where we will describe the 36 kinds of wood which were used in ancient Egypt, the pigments which were used in ancient Egypt. We will discuss why wood was important and how we can deal with analysis, non-invasive analysis and micro-invasive analysis to understand wood. What is dendrochronology and how can it be used in archaeology? And then there was my dream. A dream that I wanted since I come to the Museo Egizio. Actually, I had 3 dreams. 2 of them now are being satisfied. One was to have a complete papyrus room. I showed you the 40 meters of papyri which were never visible, but which were in our reserve, which are now visible. I had a dream to find a way to make more visible the immense corpus of pottery that we have, and that's what I'm going to discuss you in a minute. And then I have a 3rd dream that I haven't found the space yet, is to make all our ostraca visible. I dream to have a gallery all of ostraca. All my curators are against it because they think nobody would come, but I've lost battle not to war yet, so I hope I will find the way to exhibit our ostraca as well. But the vases are now a reality. Here you see a render of a showcase in a gallery which will be of 2 stories. We had to develop a special showcase where we will have all our 5,600 vases of our collection divided by the place where we were found. So you see there Medina, Valley of the Queens, Giza, the tomb of the unknown, Kawal Kabir, Thebes, what comes from Nubia, Jebelain, Asyut, Hammamia, Heliopolis, Aswan. And then we also put within the showcases these vases in accordance to their shape and to their chronology. At the center, so actually what we are creating is a kind of library where you can go and see how pottery is the library for archaeologists, how pottery is the vital element to date different strata, how pottery is essential to understand, to have internal chronology in order to come to absolute chronology. We are finishing this gallery at this very moment, and I can tell you that the view of 5,600 vases in this gallery is really overwhelming. But we didn't only want to have just a view of 2 floors of pottery without explaining it. So there will be a central showcase where we explain how and why pottery was used, how we can compare ancient pottery to what we use nowadays, and also there is a video of 8 minutes which was filmed in Egypt, showed how you can forge a pottery shape coming from clay, the different inclusion of clay, etc. The whole bicentennial started because the whole idea of refurbishing, of changing the gallery, started because in 1967, with a presidential decree, Italy, actually, not the Museo Egizio, was given the Temple of Elixir. Gamal Abdel Nasser donated the Temple of Elixir not to the Museo Egizio, but to the nation. As we all know, there are 4 countries who have been given a temple in thanking their support in the Nubian campaign. One of them is Spain, which has done an excellent work putting a temple in a public place, in a park, visible and accessible for all the citizens. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has the temple inside the museum, is true, but it has a glass cover so that from the central part you can see it. The National Museum of Antiquities in Leiden, already in the 70s, during the directorship of Hans Schneider, covered actually the courtyard so that everybody could go inside in the temple and see the temple itself in the so-called temple room. In the Museo Egizio, if you wanted to see the rock-cut temple of Elixir, dated to the time of Tutmosis III, you had to enter the museum, go through the gallery. At the very end, you would be able to see the temple. Actually, we wanted to change it. We wanted to make the temple accessible. We wanted to have an opening where people could go in directly to the museum. And that's why we're having a new huge gate of 4 meters opened on Via Duze, so on the back of the museum. People will be able to come inside and see the museum. But in order to achieve that, the whole disposition of the museum had to change. We had to create a new courtyard. We have to create a new climatized courtyard so that the temple would not suffer and people could go in and out. The temple, well, don't be worried, this is only a render. There will be not a projection on the temple, but on the sides, talking about the trip of the temple, the history of the temple, and also describing the landscape of Nubia and describing also the graffiti and the text which is on the temple. We have been working with different parties in order to make this temple accessible and to give the history behind it. The temple will be open on the 20th of November of this year by the President of the Republic of Italy, Sergio Mattarella, who has given his patronage for all the bicentennial. And in giving the temple to him, we're giving it back to the nation, and it's a restitution to the nation, to the city of Turin, to the inhabitants of Turin. So everybody will be able to see the temple, stay there, read the information going in and out, and to the visitors to the museum itself. You see, so where there will be projections explaining the temple itself, and on the back, so on the upper part of your slide, there will be this huge gate of 4 meters of glass, allowing people getting inside. We have just been finishing cutting the wall. We are just about to install the door, and you can understand how delicate the whole process is. Another very nice addition that we have thanks to this project is that 2 openings, 2 doors going from the Temple of Elixir to the Gallery of Kings will be of glass, so people can come inside, have a look inside of the Gallery of Kings, where you have to pay a ticket to go inside, but still, they can, for free, go inside, have a look, and hopefully be invited and inspired to go to the museum. I will be briefly tell you and show you something of the Gallery of Kings, even though the renders that you see here are already outdated because we have decided to change during last month the color of the floor. So first of all, you can see on your left-hand side where it's written museum, there is the historical gate to the gallery, which will be used again as a gate to enter the museum and to enter the Gallery of Kings. The museum will have a completely different path because I will show you in a minute. We will have a covered courtyard where people will come, will be able to enter, they will be able to stay and to drink a coffee if they want to and do other activities. I will show you in a minute, but I also can choose at that very moment where they want to go. A little bit, even if little, like the British Museum, you have a central space where you can go and then you can decide how to organize your visit. Do you want to go to the Gallery of Kings? Do you want to go to the galleries that I just showed you? Materiality, Shape of Time. You want to go to the Temple of the Lycia? Do you want to go upstairs and do the chronological part? Do you want to go up to the underground and see the history of the museum? The museum, in this transformation that we are doing this year, is gaining almost 3,000 square meters. So it's becoming even bigger. And so it means that people will have to choose what parts they want to see. We want to break that idea that Museo Egizio can be visited just in one day, what a lot of people still do, and we are enhancing the possibility for people to become members so that they can have an annual membership and they can stay and they can back whenever they want. I want you to see, first of all, in this render, how finally again the ceiling of the room will be visible. For 18 years we have not seen the ceiling. Those of you who have been in Turin know that in this gallery there was the installation of Dante Ferretti, whom we thank for what he did. It was in 2006. There were the Olympic Games in Turin. There was no time and money to refurbish the entire museum, so he was asked an art film director to make a kind of Egypt of Hollywood, which he did. It was supposed to be for 6 months and it lasted 18 years. And first of all, for a temporary exhibition, it could have been okay. For a permanent gallery, obscuring the beauty and the history of the building, obscuring this wonderful Baroque building that was housing the collection, was something, to my eyes, unbearable. Second, the whole gallery was dark, and this darkness was achieved by closing up the windows to one of the main square of the city, Piazza Carignano, and to the internal square. So one of the first things we've done, it was to open again the windows. And as I said, the project was from darkness to light, so that these statues could be in light again, like they were in ancient Egypt. Don't look at the floor because it has been changed. The floor now is white sandstone floor. And actually the floor and the pedestal are of the same colors, giving the idea as if the statues are coming out of the temple, of the sandstone of the temple. The vault will be again visible, and we have these lights which will give a punctual and very nice illumination of the statues themselves. The effect is that from the internal courtyard and from Piazza Carignano, you will be able to see the statues inside, and also that the statue now, which are lowered, we will be able finally to look the statues in their face. I myself, since I've been director here, was not able to look at the eyes of Ramses II, to see the hands of Ormeb embraces Amun. finally, there are all details which are going to be visible, and you will be able, I can tell you, the Ramses II will be in the center of the gallery to see them. And you see the effect that you have with light. As I said, is a change that was needed, is a change that is going to be problematic, considering that if we ask our visitors, 90% of our visitors love this gallery. So I don't know whether I have to expect a letter to resign after the opening when all the visitors will start complaining, but actually we are here to explain the visitors why this change was needed and why this is much more faithful to what a context of the statue should have been. I haven't showed you yet how the building will be finished. Let me admit, first of all, since we are with colleagues, that we have delays in the building. I wanted on the 20th of November, when the President of the Republic came, to have the all refurbishing finished. So I wanted to have the courtyard, as you see, also finished with this light cover made of steel and glass, which was part of an international tender. The one who won was OMA, Office of Metropolitan Architecture. From this render, you see the our roof garden looking down, and you have this square 1,000 square meters, which is covered. We are proceeding with the covering, but we won't have it finished for the 20th of November. We will have it finished in 1 year from now. And actually, I was quite upset when I realized that we had this delay, to the time that I talked with our colleague Gabriele Finaldi, the director of the National Gallery in London. The National Gallery is also celebrating the bicentennial this year. They also have some delays, and he told me, well, he came out with a claim: the bicentennial is too important to celebrate it in 1 year. Let's celebrate it in 3. So I stole his claim, and I say, well, we started the celebration on the 19th of December 2023, and we will finish in next year in 2025. When we will finish, the museum will gain back its portico. The portico now, as you have seen when I showed you the photo with all the statues inside, and on the left-hand side has been blocked off by glass that shows the blocking of these arches. And these arches were blocked in the 1990s to avoid rainwater to come inside the gallery. But actually, this is a Baroque building where this was a portico, and it will come back. And just in front of the gallery called Museum, there will be our bookshop. And actually, going back to a very ancient tradition here in Turin, what we call portici di carta. Underneath the porticos, you can buy books all around the city. And actually, here you will buy the books of the museum itself. As I said, this central square will be a gathering place, would make the museum much more permeable, will allow people to go in and out, and this square will be free accessible and free of charge for everybody. There will be the bookshop, there will be an information center, there will be a cafeteria, there will be the access to the gallery of to the Temple of Elesia, and then we will have 3 staircases bringing you down. On your right-hand side, you see this light staircase going down, and you see on the left of it a rather coarse wall. That's the Roman wall, because the Museo Egizio is built on top of the wall, which was defining the border of the Roman city. This wall now is not visible because here we have 2 escalators. We will take out the escalators to have this much lighter staircase, because we don't have any architectonical barrier, because you can go down with the lift, with the two lifts already existing. And those who are capable of going down using the stairs can use these stairs and can see this wall. This would also be a place, could be a little, let's say, theater where people can sit, and we can use it for small lectures. Downstairs, we will have an Egyptian garden. The idea of an Egyptian garden was already developed in the museum in 2020 during the pandemic, when we realized how difficult it was to be closed. We wanted to have a square open where people could come. And actually, when we reopened, we had this small garden. It was developed studying the representation of Egyptian gardens in the tombs of the New Kingdom in Thebes. The idea of having a central, a little pool of water, and around it having papyrus, sycamores, palm trees, etc., was developed. This little garden, which was visible in the summer of 2021 and 2022, now will be transformed in something more stable. You see, this is -1, is much lighter. Now -1 is horrible dark. You have no light coming in. Now it's much lighter because we'll be in direct contact with natural light coming from this cover. And the idea of a garden was born by fundamental questions that we had for all this celebration of the bicentennial. Are we a place of construction or a place of destruction? And 200 years after the foundation of the museum, what do we miss? And the answer was immediate for all of us. We miss Egypt. And how do we bring Egypt to Turin? How do we bring also to our visitor the idea that the object has a value within their landscape, that the context of the landscape is fundamental? Well, was creating a garden. So a garden will be a first part of an immersive space. And please don't judge the quality of what I'm going to show you in a minute, because it's a render of the architect. This is how it looks from above, how we will go down and see this garden. But also from this garden, you see the other opening, and you see a kind of landscape. There will be an immersive space where we have been working already for 1 year, having different group of people who have been going to Egypt, who have been filming in sites which are of fundamental importance, like the site of Jebel Ain. And we will have an exhibition on Jebel Ain with objects from Jebel Ain and the landscape. So don't look at this render done by the architect, because it's something like it's going to be. It's more like how can we look of the production of ancient artifacts? How can we look at what Herodotus called the Doron Tunailu, the landscape where apparently there is no evidence of anthropological intervention, and how the landscape fluctuated, was modified, was used and abused by its inhabitants, and how we cannot talk about one landscape. There are different landscapes, and how this can be integrated in our history. How documentation of the natural landscape has always been central, starting from ancient Egyptian representation that we've seen in Book of the Dead papyri, for instance, or going all the way to La Description de l'Égypte. So we will have the square, and underneath the square, in the underground, we will have the Egyptian garden and a section devoted to Jebel Ain, where objects and the reproduction of the immaterial landscape will be a part of them. We also have 2 artists in residence who will help us to reflect what the museum is nowadays. One is Sarah Salem. She's Egyptian living in the Netherlands, and she's been working about the diaspora of Egyptian objects, like she did in the Neues Museum in Berlin, how Egyptian objects aim at going back to the natural landscape. And the other artist is Franco-Lebanese artist Ali Sherry, is one of the most known contemporary artist at the moment. He exhibited already at the Museo Egizio in a show in 2018 called Statues Also Die, with this light table where he had objects coming from all over the world, which he bought legally on the antiquity market. And the light table was signifying for him, well, the objects in the museum are killed when we don't tell their biography, when they don't tell their stories. So this was part of the exhibition and this artwork. And now he's producing a work of art for us, who will be inaugurated on the 20th of November by our President of the Republic. As a nice coincidence, by the way, he was also the artist in residence for the bicentennial of the National Gallery in London. I would like to invite all of you. All of you will get an invitation by the end of the month to take part in our celebrations. On the 20th of November, the President of the Republic will come, and we need to close the museum for security reasons. But in the afternoon, starting from 4 o'clock, all the national and international scientific community will be invited to join us and to start the celebration of our bicentennial. I say a start because only part of the museum will be finished, and is a start for 1 year, because then next year we will close. We will have a small exhibition devoted to Victor Emmanuel I and Carlo Felice, with original furniture coming from the Soprintendenza, showing their Egyptianizing love. We will start with this cupboard with Egyptianizing elements, because we will finish next year with the chariot that Carlo Felice built with Egyptian elements, which was used for all the funerals of the Savoy family. On the 21st and 22nd of November, we will have a festival. The museum will be open for free for all the people who will be able to come inside and to have speed lectures, to visit the new galleries, and to explore the museum for themselves. We will finish our celebration on the 22nd of November with a lecture of Ali Abderrahim from the Cairo Museum, giving us, because actually we really want to be to have the museum united, to have the director of the museum in Cairo as the final event here in Turin. On the 24th of November, we will give the first copy of our volume of the bicentennial to the President of the Republic. It's a book where we've been working for more than 2 years. It's a book written by more than 40 people from different fields, and actually the point of view was how can we describe this 200 years of history seen from the museum, which was first the museum of the capital of the Kingdom of Sardinia. Then it became the museum of the first capital of unified Italy, and then it was one of the most important museums during the liberal period, museum that suffered because of fascism, suffered because of the war. Was a museum which was bombed on the 8th of December 1942. All the collection had to be evacuated after we lost some objects from Assiut and Jebelen. It was evacuated and went to the museum in Allier. To the castle of Allier, and the castle of Allier will also help celebrate the bicentennial with a small exhibition about us. And then also we wanted to see not only the transformation that happened 2 times, but also to see how the museum is now and how we have a future ahead of us. So this is a render of how the garden was in 2021-2022. And just an overview of some of the the articles that are inside. I actually particularly like this picture because you see all the key elements of the museum. You see Bernardino Drovetti in the drawings. Sitting on the left, you see Ernesto Schiaparelli in the last years of his life. Actually, this picture was taken when he was appointed senator of the Kingdom of Italy. And then on the photo on the right, you see the late Professor Donadoni and the late Professor Curto. Actually, Professor Curto giving over the directorship to Professor Donadoni, who, of course, Donadoni Rovere was being invited for the celebration of the bicentennial, and she's just turned 90, and I'm very happy that she can be with us. And so this is also to show what was the main feature of the museum. So, well, of course, the volume will show all the moments the museum has gone through, all the different exhibitions, how the galleries have been changed, how the narrative concerning the gallery have been changed. I would also like to thank all the colleagues that wanted to contribute, and especially the colleagues from the most important Italian collections, starting with Daniela Picchi, who wanted to contribute in the volume to show how there is a care and study about ancient Egyptian antiquity, which has the Museo Egizio, of course, but has very important collection through the country. We will have an international symposium from the 16th to the 18th of December to discuss about the history of the museum. We will have colleagues from the world of Egyptology. We will have the Director General of Museums of Italy. We have colleagues from Archaeological Museum in Italy to see how 200 years after the foundation, the museum is still part of the archaeological landscape of Italy, and how does it relate with Egypt, and what is the future ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. It was really amazing to hear about what's happening in the museum. We thought a lot happened for the last 10 years, but it's never-ending story. It's amazing. Thank you so much for telling us all about it. I don't know if you have some questions for Christian. I can repeat them here because he will not be able to hear it if there are a few questions or comments, maybe. Or you are all in awe, of course, of what? Vincent Rondeau?
Christian, perhaps to say hello first from Madrid. This is Vincent speaking with your colleague from the Louvre. I have to say that the way you describe the twin destinies of the two collections around the personality of Champollion, when you say that Turin was his Rosetta Stone, I will take for me this expression, if you don't mind. I think it is really the good way to describe how a Turin collection was so decisive for the beginning, the starting of Egyptology, and of revealing the past of this civilization. At Turin, we are really at the core of everything. And as Tina, you just said, it is endless, not only to show the objects, but also to explain those facts and to make them visible and vivid to the audience, to the different publics we have nowadays.
Thank you, Vincent. And I would like to comment on something that I have forgotten to say, but is very important. And I'm sure you will love it when you will come to the museum. In taking down all these Dante Ferretti superstructure, let's put it this way. Of course, finally, two very important epigraphs in the Gallery of Kings will be visible. One celebrating the fact that the King of Sardinia bought the collection of Drovetti, but the second one, written with golden letters, is amazing because it's a tribute to Champollion made by the Academy of Science in March 1832 at the news at the very moment of the death of the father of Egyptology. And so this stele was put in the most important room of the museum, saying the members of the Academy shocked. They say in Latin and is written starting immediately when Nunziatum S, when it was announced of the death of the father of Egyptology, wanted to have a remembrance for eternal memory for the person who described for the first time the monument that arrived in Turin thanks to the generosity of Carlo Felice, and describe it with his knowledge of the ancient Egyptian texts which had remained silent till the very moment. I think that in this museum, which is at the very beginning of Egyptology, to have this stele not visible for so many years was unbearable. So I'm very happy that in the new Gallery of Kings, the stele of Champollion and the stele devoted to Drovetti will be visible, because those are the roots of our museum. There is where we started, and the visitors need to see them.
Yes, we have another question or comment here. Can we have the microphone to the front?
Thank you, Christian, and thank you for this excellent presentation. Personally, I've been to the museum in Torino, and it's very impressive. I enjoyed it very much, and the work that you're doing to expand it and bring it, more life and so on, is important to us as part of the public, because a museum that is not evolving, it's going to become a place that's redundant. So what you're doing is a really great job. So thank you very much for that. I just have a comment about something that I noticed when I came to the museum, which was a few years ago, is that you have a few Nubian pieces in the museum. And as you know, Sudan and Egypt, we have a shared history. And yes, the museum, of course, is an Egyptian museum. It's a museum of Egyptology. And the Egyptian public has the right to access the museum free of charge, because, of course, that is their culture, which is, I completely agree with this. However, I also think that you should allow access to Sudanese people also, because there are pieces of Sudanese culture in the museum. Nubian culture is also part of our history. And as the ambassador of Sudan, I have to defend this, of course. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I get your point. That's why we said when we did that activity, if you speak Arabic, you're free of charge. So we didn't want to put boundaries. So everybody was welcome because of the language. But also to you, I would like to say something which is very important. Thanks to cooperation with Professor Dr. Willeke Vendrik, we have been working with local Nubian communities, and we've been recording the voices of people who actually, who are still alive, who helped the moving of the Temple of Elezia, but also people that, as you know, were moved themselves from the place because the old Nubia that disappeared. So this is a part of history that we would like to stress also in this temple, because it was a Nubian temple and there is this interconnection with that. And of course, thinking also of the of our all our new Sudanese colleagues and the difficulties that the country is going through at the moment. We had also received a grant for a symposium which had to be dealt with in 3 different places. Was a grant given by the Getty with Professor Karakuni. So we were supposed to have a meeting in Khartoum, in Aswan, and in Turin, talking about Nubian antiquities. At the moment, as you can imagine, it's not possible, but I can assure you that Sudan is high in our consideration, and also in the willingness to open up cooperation, hopefully in the very near future.
Yes, I give the word to the Egyptian ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ba. Mr. Greco, thank you very much for this excellent presentation. But also, as I told already Vincent Rondeau when I was ambassador of Egypt to France, and as I told Mrs. Izquierdo, thank you very much for this excellent presentation of my great civilization. I will tell you very modestly that I'm very proud to find that there is a science that is named by the name of my country. It's something that is extremely special. But what is really, what has always been impressed me is the amount of love, the amount of interest that you give to this great civilization. We've been doing our best to be as good as you are, and very soon the GEM will be joining you, the Great Egyptian Museum. Unfortunately, the conditions in our region are not allowing for the kind of inauguration that we ought to have for this great jewel. It is a $1 billion project. We will be talking about more or less 100,000 pieces that will be exhibited over this huge area. But also, during the last years, Egypt managed to create some 20 new museums or upgrading older ones. I'm talking about the Namek, but also about the Greco-Roman museum, but museums that we've been working on for maybe 2 decades, 20 years, like Asyut or Kafr Sheikh. But also new museums in coastal touristic cities like Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh. So watching the excellent work you're all doing, we're trying our best to join you, and I'm sure that the GEM will be really a really impressive project that we would all appreciate very much. And then lastly, I live in the same neighborhood as Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Sudan, but the road from passing in front of her house is in good condition. In my case, we are trying to make the old new again. So my apologies for being late this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would like to say that also for us, this celebration of the 200 years is a way to reconnect even more to Egypt. I was last week Friday, I went to visit His Excellency, the Ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt to Rome to extend the invitation for the celebration to the Minister of Antiquities and Tourism and the Secretary General of Antiquities and the directors of the most important museums in Egypt, because we would really want to underline the 200 years after the foundation our reason of being is Egypt. This museum cannot exist without Egypt, and I do hope that also, as Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Sudan, said, that I hope that the museum can be a bridge between the two shores of the Mediterranean. I always said that I had a dream that has not come true yet, but I'm working on that. There are 89,000 Egyptians living in the northern of Italy, and I always said I would like to be the most important embassy outside of Egypt. Your Excellencies, I don't want to steal your job. I just want to like to say this is a way to say I would like people to feel welcome and to understand that this is a museum where they can be proud of their culture and learn about it. And I think that we also have to develop joint educational programs together. I've been strictly in touch with the communities here, and a lot of people had never been going to the museum in Egypt either. So this increased participation can start here, and we can develop projects that can be cross-national and cross-cultural.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you, the Ambassador of Sudan and Egypt. We are very happy for this, talk about Egyptian museums, and of course, the most wonderful ones are in Egypt. And of course, we think about all what is happening in Sudan and in Khartoum. So we will also return to that during this conference. But the collaboration and that we are all together in this is, of course, one of the most important things also of CPEG for all the Egyptian and Sudanese collections in the whole world, in Egypt and Sudan and in the rest here in Madrid, of course, and in the rest of the world. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Christian, for this amazing presentation. As director of this museum, my little question would be, how make real these wonderful projects you have presented us, this temporary exhibition, infrastructures project. I imagine you have a great team, public-private partnership to find the necessary resources to make real all these projects. Congratulations, and I would like to know how make real these amazing projects in Turin.
Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning the team, because the work is the team. I have a great team, a team that has been growing in the past 10 years. When I arrived, there were 13 people. Now we are 86. And thanks to them, this is possible. Thanks to them and to their hard work to achieve this goal. I must tell you that concerning resources, we have to thank the success that the museum has had in the past 10 years. We went from 400,000 visitors to more than 1 million last year. And even though we have been closed for 3.5 weeks, the numbers of the visitors this year has decreased only 7% compared to last year. So it's thanks to the fact that people come and visit us that we managed to do this work, because to split the number, 23 million of investment, of which 5 million were given by the Ministry of Culture, another 5 million by all the other private partners. Then we managed to fundraise 2.5 million for in our fundraiser activity, but we still needed more than 10 million. And these 10 million come, 5 million is what we saved ourselves in the past 10 years. So every year we try to put something aside, already having the idea of the bicentennial. But the very last part has been a mortgage. The museum had to stipulate a mortgage with a bank. We have a business plan to pay it back in the coming 10 years. And so we did a mortgage of 5 million, where we found a bank foundation willing to give the guarantees, of course, the financial guarantees for us, because that's the problem of having a mortgage. We don't have a capital, so you're not able to get a mortgage. So a bank foundation has a guarantee, but then we had to borrow money, and we will pay it back in the coming 10 years.
Thank you for clarifying this, Christian. And I think we are now going to finish your wonderful keynote speech. And thank you again very much for being with us today, and also for answering various questions and issues after your lecture. And good luck with everything. And we very look forward to we can visit you again in Turin. Thank you so much, Christian.
Yeah.